Absolutely no one has done more to promote art in El Paso than this lady. Adair MArgo, former First Lady of the town, and a resume too long to even describe. Adair, nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
Let's go back in time a little bit. You are a third-generation El Pasoan.
I am, on my mother's side. My mother was born here. Her grandparents were born here, and my great-grandparents are the ones who came here. One a Baptist minister who baptized Tom Lee, the other a physician who worked on both sides of the border.
Okay, so you went off to Vanderbilt in Nashville, right? And you met someone sort of special to you at Vanderbilt. Who was that?
Yes, MArgo, who was there on a football scholarship.
Dee played football?
Well, I never saw him. He got hurt, but anyway, that's how he got his college education, with the scholarship.
Okay, so you two fell in love in college, and then you came back to El Paso and were married here?
We were married in El Paso in 1976.
Wow. Okay, so walk us through the beginning of the MArgo family. How did you all go to work?
Well, my dad had come here in the military, a Tennessean. He went to work for my father-in-law, my mother's father, John D. Williams, who had a very small insurance operation. And my dad had gotten 3 Fordham physicists working at White Sands Missile Range. BDM International became their company, but they had dreams of being a resource to the Department of Defense, and he had work to do in Washington. So he hired Dee from Nashville, where we were living, to come help him here, and then died soon after, and Dee took over the business. 7 employees that ended up going to 77, and then sold to Hub International.
So Dee had to buy the company.
He bought the company from the estate.
Dee took it and built it into the monster insurance company that it is today, and your son took over.
Well, he built it. He would always say, Dee was always been part of a team. You know, he was a football player, an offensive guard. And so it was always a team, and it was always a team effort. And so he allowed stockholders in his business when it was locally owned. But then it ended up selling to Hub International, and everybody, a lot of people benefited, not just Dee.
So while Dee was doing that, you were busy as well. Now, you opened up a wonderful art gallery.
I did.
The Adair MArgo Gallery. Tell us about that.
I did. Well, that was when Dee and I first moved back here, I graduated from Vanderbilt, studied in Italy, art history. And I think, like many people, when you graduate, you realize how you don't know anything. So I ended up going to New Mexico State, where there was an art historian, Italian, who taught, and I got my master's degree up there. And after I got my master's, and one thing that was significant is that when I was studying at New Mexico State, an Italian art historian suggested to me, he lectured in Las Cruces. He said, why don't you do your master's thesis on Franciscan mission architecture in New Mexico? And I thought, great idea, I'll have to go to Italy to study it. And all I needed to do was walk to Juarez and find a prime example in the mission of Nuestra Senora de Guadalupe.
It was all right.
So that it was all right here, and that was kind of the beginning. I thought everything was in Italy, and no, it's not all in Italy. There's a lot here that no one knows about. So I did my thesis on that. And then a friend of ours who had a frame shop asked me to be his art consultant, Frank McKnight. He had Galleria Colonial, it's where Joe Jeske is now, on the corner of Cincinnati and Stanton. And I worked there as an art consultant, which I didn't even know what that meant, but it really meant selling some art on the walls of his frame shop.
And that's how your gallery began.
That's how it began.
Of course, then it migrated into the Tom Lee Institute. That lives on today, and that is a big deal. Quickly, Tom Lee, he was a game changer, at least for you personally.
He was a game changer.